Hey again, everyone. Thanks for joining me. We have our special guest again today, special guest slash co-host, Connor Wood. Connor, how you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing awesome as usual, man.
Awesome as usual, man. How are things where you're at?
Yeah, things are nice and calm, and it's a nice summer day now. Not too hot, and I'm ready to talk about this movie.
I know. I didn't think we would ever get into talking about movies, but there's so many people, or not just movies, but storytellers in general that have relayed these issues uh, for the time immemorial. Excuse me. Anyhow, today we're going to talk about a movie that was actually done in the 40s called Gaslight. And if you have heard the term that a narcissist gaslights their victim, this is where it comes from. And the reason why folks that are using that term is because there's really not another term that's quite like it. So when you hear gaslight, you'll understand what it is to be gaslighted or gaslit, and you'll know where it comes from. The movie was made in 1944. Ingrid Bergman and Charles Boyer. These are people that have been probably well out of the scope of most people's movie for what we know about movies for a while. But it's a very important movie. I actually bought two or three copies of it just in case. So anyway, it's an old movie, and I'm going to give you just the quick synopsis on the what do you call this? Gaslight, 1944. And I'll read this and then we'll get into it. After the death of her famous opera seeing aunt, Paula, who is Ingrid Bergman, is sent to study in Italy to become a great opera singer as well. While she's there, she falls in love with a charming Gregory Anton, who's played by Charles Boyer. The two return to London, and Paula begins to notice strange things going on: missing pictures, strange footsteps in the night, gaslights that dim without being touched. As she fights to retain her sanity, her new husband's intentions come into question. And that is why we're talking about the movie Gaslight today. Connor, did you watch that movie? And what do you think?
Yes, I did.
Tell us what you think about this one.
Oh, it is well done. I'm really impressed by it because it doesn't need to rely on special effects. It really gets the message across in terms of just how real uh, psychological manipulations are, and just how real it is to be in one of these like manipulation ships. Again, I don't consider them relationships. The whole thing is just lies and abuse, and the person thinks they're to blame. The victim thinks they're to
Wait a
blame.
minute. I got to stop you on that manipulation ship. That's a new one. I like. Did you just come up with that?
I read it a long time ago. I've been saying it now and then, but I
I,
wanted
I
to
haven't
catch
heard
on.
that one yet. See, this is why we have these discussions. The manipulation ship. That is, God, I love that. That's good. That's good. Continue.
Yeah, and it's like you said here with your synopsis. I mean, one of the big reason why it's called Gaslight is in this house of theirs, this mansion house that they're living in order to light up the room with lights, they light a match and then they light this gaslight lamp, and so you release the gas from the valves, and then that creates the fire, and that's why it's called Gaslight. And the thing is, what's happening? The reason why this movie why she thinks she's losing her mind is the gaslight starts dimming, and the reason it's dimming is because someone else is using the gas in the attic, and when they do that, they're taking pressure away from her gaslight that's on, and then that's why it dims, because there's less gas for her unless she like opened up the valve more. So
Right.
she adjusts it, she lights it, and then it's the right amount of gas being it's the right amount of gas pressure, but then he sneaks up to the attic, and when he turns on the valve, that lowers the pressure for her, and that's why the light dims on her thing.
Right.
And so she thinks she's losing her mind, that things are that like the lights are dimming, and then she's hearing footsteps above her, and it's all just, oh man. And the thing is, throughout this movie, like you'd have to probably watch it two or three times in a row to really see just how evil the villain is in this movie. He is truly evil. Everything he does is to screw her over, and he literally was going to have her committed in an insane asylum, certified, so to call it, certified as insane, and then he would have her fortune and everything. That was his whole, and it was all a setup. Everything was a setup to it was one trap after trap. And a good example of it is he initially, this is all done off screen, but he keeps taking the picture that is hung on a wall, and he keeps hiding it in the same place. And so she knows where to go to look for the missing picture. And then he starts accusing her, saying, "How'd you know where it was? You must have done this again. How could you do this again? My patience is wearing out. I can't keep caring about you like this." It's all lies. All of it. It's lies. So yeah, I mean,
And many of us have experienced this exact thing. Remember, the channel, we're not movie critics, but we're directing you to stories that make it more clear, easier to understand what it's like to be a victim of a narcissist. And the poor woman in this movie is victimized by this Gregory character who, yeah, and he hides things, and he hides jewelry, and then when she finds it, he accuses her of trying to steal the jewelry or something. Like, I know there was something with jewelry, and yeah, and he's walking upstairs, and then he comes down, and he goes, "I have no idea what you're talking about." And she says, "Gregory, the lights, they're dimming," and she just assumes that somebody's around, and he knows the entire time what's going on. It's extremely evil. And this has gotten to be a major problem with, I would say, all of the victims of narcissists, because that's one of their leading tools, is to gaslight you. Continue, Connor.
yeah, and yeah, the whole idea of gaslight is it's basically you're getting so filled with doubts, and you're not sure of your reality anymore, and you're basically, you don't know what to think anymore, because the abuser basically puts so much doubts into you. They give you false hope in that you have to trust them over yourself. You have to trust them, the liar, over you.
Well,
And
here's what's
that's
so evil about that is that, and I've mentioned this many times before, it's not the checker at the grocery store or the guy at the gas station. These are people that are close to you, people that you defer to sense your reality, to make sure that you are in reality. These are parents or spouses. These are people that are close to you. That's what makes it so sinister, is that you don't think that people in those positions would do this sort of thing, but they use their position to make you feel crazy when they're the ones that are stirring the crazy pot, and you're not doing anything to contribute to it anyway. But you're the one that's suffering from it, just like Ingrid Bergman was in the movie.
Yeah, I mean, I actually kind of forgot the main characters' names. Like the girl, the main character, the victim, is Bella, and at one point she finds an envelope, which was addressed to Louis Bauer, and she asks him. She goes, when our relationship started going south, that's when I found that envelope saying Louis Bauer. And then you start being so mean to me, aka the idealization phase ended and the devaluation phase begins.
Right.
That was, and oh, Paul, that was his fake name. His fake name was Paul something.
Right.
And yeah, he just keeps doing all this stuff. And one of the really things is he starts cheating on her with the maid. Like, he was never faithful with her, like, at all. Like, he's already cheating on the maid, and the maid is basically a flying monkey. There's this young maid, this young servant that they have, and she's such a flying monkey. She's going around spreading gossip around town behind her back, and she's like the husband wants to isolate her in the room, and it's like, you can't leave the house, you can't leave the house, right? Doesn't wants to make sure that everyone thinks that she's insane and can't be talked to, and just, oh, he sets everything up. And at one point he covers his face, like he's pretending to not look at her, but then like he like parts his fingers, and he has his eyes just like wide, just staring at her as he steals her brooch. Like, he just, oh, it's so evil, so evil.
And back then it was something maybe even novel. I mean, we know that it happened, and these ideas aren't new, but now it seems to happen all too often. And it was pretty direct and clear in the movie. In real life, it's not that direct and it's not that clear, but you're always being set up by the narcissist, always, and everything's always triangulated. That's that's why he's getting everyone to think that she's insane. If I can get everyone to think that she's insane and the authorities as well, then they win because she looks insane because that's part of the game that they play, and he gets the riches as well.
Yeah, well, one thing that was really bad was when one of her family members came to visit, because the officer recognized the guy, and he's like, "Hey, that's the nephew, or someone that was the nephew of this woman that was killed," and so he recognizes this guy, and he's going under a different name now, and so this old detective who's retired goes, no, there's something afoot here. And he even says to himself, I'm so smart, they should put my brain in a museum after I'm dead and stuff. And so like so he figures out that, yeah, this guy is using a fake name, pretending to be someone he's not, and the detective's onto it. And so he manages to talk to the woman and learn about her name and stuff, and figure out where she's from and like family and stuff. And he's like, okay, I'm gonna start doing some things. So he actually gets the family involved because the abuser wanted to isolate her, and all of a sudden he goes, what, you must be sending letters behind my back, what lies have you told them, what have you told them about me? And she's innocent of this. She doesn't, because it's like how did he find me, how did this one person find me? And so that's and God, he's always there to ruin the moment. The abuser is always going to be hovering around, always around, trying to. At one point, he manages to get her in a dog park and go to like a toy store with a good detective guy. And then the abuser comes in and takes her away and ruins the moment because she's happy around children and stuff, and she's feeling good. And he comes over and he's like, "You're gonna lose control of yourself," with that look in his eye, and she's all sad all of a sudden. And then the cashier says to the detective, says, "Well, what can I do for you?" And they're out of their earshot. He says, "Knock his block off." Like it just. Oh, the detective knew. The detective was like, this is some serious bullshit going on here. And so yeah, he gets the friend involved, and she admits, she's like, it's my money that we were able to buy this house and stuff. And it's like, why are you being so mean to me? And just never answering her questions, and deflection, and accusing her, and just it never ends. The drama never ends. And so he sets her up, and he wants her to wear this fantastic brooch. And that was again to fuck with her. And so he locks it away in his little cabinet that only he has access to. Takes her brooch and locks it away in the cabinet. And this was actually a gift that he initially gave her, and then he took it away without her knowing and locked it away to feel all smug about himself and stuff. Then he managed to get a hold of her purse, and says, yeah, that's a nice purse, here, get your coat, an act of kindness. But it turns out that act of kindness was just so that he could get her purse, and when she's not looking, he puts his pocket watch in her purse without her knowing.
I've you know what? It takes me so long to even understand things like that, but I've even had something happen like that to me recently with a business deal of someone who knew exactly what I said. They knew exactly what the parameters were, and then changed it and said, "Oh, I was just trying to do you a favor." And I'm just like, man, it's like this happens every single day somewhere. This is a documentary. It's not even a movie anymore. It's nauseating how these people behave. Just nauseating. If you all haven't seen the movie, I know we've kind of ruined it a little bit, but it is worth getting. It'll at least make you feel like you're not alone, that someone else has experienced this as well, because it's just the guy. Yeah, everything about him is, it's gaslight, and it's triangulation, and it's making her go crazy, and he's talking behind her back, and he's stabbing her in the back. Everything that a narcissist does, this guy does in the movie, and it's real clear. So if somebody wants to know what it's like to be on the receiving end, this is it.
Yeah, and man, and actually something that they don't explain it, but so he gets her to the show because his whole thing is to set her up. It's always a trap. He always sets her up to fail. always to make her look crazy. And so she goes there with him, and she's really happy because she gets to go out of the house at last now. All because of his. It's all lies from him, right? She thinks that she's getting better and stuff, but she was never. There was no problem with her to begin with. He's been fucking with her the whole time.
Right.
And, like, really,
there's no problem with you all to begin with. If you're on these channels, you're going to learn that it really is them. It really is them. There's nothing wrong with you. And if you're considering, am I a narcissist, then you're not one. Isn't that great? Isn't that just great? There's nothing wrong with her to begin with, but he is more than willing to send her to the insane asylum, which is is that what they called them back there? Or back then, the insane asylums, right?
well, like, I can't remember what they're going to
today.
call it.
Yeah, the crazy house. They're going to send you away with all the other psychos because he's gaslit or gaslighted you into. You know what? I think I'm getting that confused. Let me just stop for a second. When you copyright something, I know it sounds goofy, but it's really copyrighted and it's not copywritten because that's not the root word. But I do think it's gaslit. So I have to stop and correct myself. So when you've been gaslit, then they're more than willing to send you away and make you look like the insane one. And it will make you insane too. It'll make you behave in insane ways because she does. She starts to lose her mind after a while.
Well, because because the problem is, it's like she can't trust herself, right? She can't trust her own judgments. And the thing is, it's like, no, he's a really convincing liar saying that you can't trust yourself, but really you should. Now more than ever, when they're like, oh, you can't trust yourself, you have to trust me over yourself. And that's the false hope that they give you. The false hope is
so bad. It brings up memories too of me being around people that I was supposed to trust, that I was supposed to be able to reference, with the decision making and what's best for everyone. And they never have your best interest or anyone's best interest in mind. And they're constantly doing that. My jaw just hit the floor when I watched that movie. I was just, good. Are you kidding me? This is exactly what so many of us have been through. It is. It's disgusting. That guy was just such a POS, isn't he? God.
Oh, man. I mean, the actor did a phenomenal job. I really hated him, and there was a part of me that was like, I'm like, by now, I'm pretty sure all these actors are like dead by now. Like, this was a long time ago, this movie, this. So I'm pretty sure. So in a way, I was like, good. I'm glad he's dead. I'm like, wait a minute, he's just an actor here. I shouldn't be so mad about him. But
I don't trust actors or anything in Hollywood anyway, from that era or this era. So.
Yeah. And so, basically what he does is he gets her to this big fancy banquet. She's all dressed up pretty. And then he's like, oh, my watch is missing. And he looks at her accusingly. And then she's all worried. And she goes, I don't know anything about it, Paul. And he goes, but it was in my pocket when we left the house, which is a lie. It's a lie. He put it in her purse. Like, she just, and then he reaches his hand over, let me have a look at your bag. And then pulls out of the thing and looks at her and goes, oh, what did you do? Like, it just that look again, the look of, oh, how could you do this to me? Playing the victim.
I remember getting the silent treatment for no damn reason at all.
That's exactly what he does next.
You get that look, and you're like, what? You start to go crazy. I don't even know. But you start to, well, maybe I did do something. If you're the kind of person that has any, any introspection or, that you do take that maybe you did make a mistake, they use that against you. So that's how come it works. If she didn't have any self-reflection at all, then it wouldn't work. Like that.
Exactly.
He doesn't have any, and that's what he does. He knows that. They use it against you.
Yeah, well, that's why when they try to empathy prompt you, and this is in real life, they try and empathy prompt you like the poor me routine, or like where's your empathy for being a predator? And it's like, I have no empathy for predators, for bullies. Like no.
Where is your empathy for being a predator against me? What you did to me is just unforgivable, and you didn't do anything. I can't even tell you. I was so programmed into that from actually a very early age to, stopping to think that, you did something because they're screwing with your mind. I mean, they're screwing with your mind. If you want to know if you are a narcissist, when the narcissist leaves your life and all the problems leave, you aren't the problem. I think you're in a movie the whole time. It's a script. It's a script that they write and you perform, and you don't even know it.
Yeah, it's true. That's their whole thing. And just like a horror movie, the main character in a horror movie doesn't realize they're in a horror movie. It's the same thing with these guys. When you're with them, you don't realize it's a manipulation ship, but that's what it is.
I
That's
was in
what it is.
several. I was in several movies. I didn't know. I think it was a trilogy.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, I'm out of that now. Oh my God. Yeah. So this movie, if you get a chance, like it is an old movie. I think I said it was from 1944. And typically, I'm not, like I said, I'm not big into Hollywood movies. But back then, they didn't, chock it full of the propaganda and nonsense that they do now, and the shock value and whatnot. So it's actually really well written, and the cinematography is done really well. It's directed correctly. It's done well. I think you'd enjoy it. It's something that you can, there is some entertainment value, but if you're one, I'd say if you're one of us, and if you're listening to this, you probably are. You will. I think you'll enjoy the movie. It's not real long. I think it's only an hour and 15 or 20 minutes long at that. And you'll want to get a copy for yourself. Trust me, it's that important. I mean, it's that important that we use the term in all the anti-narcissism circles. We use the term gaslight, and so it's that important. I don't think he knew. I don't think he knew when he wrote that. I don't think they knew that we were going to be using it in this way. Who knew?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is, it had all the parts of all the things that you couldn't explain in one movie, and then it basically they show you the parts that you wouldn't understand, but you could understand it from the victim's perspective. And so at the beginning of the movie, it kind of delves into her perspective a lot, where she is really all confused. But then the movie starts drifting more to his perspective, and you start learning more about him, and you start realizing that she really is the victim. Like that really is it. Like initially the detective, like he's like, no, this is bullshit. That guy is Louis Bauer. This is bullshit. He's not whatever his name was, Malin or something, whatever his name. I can't remember his fake name.
What? Oh, wait a second. I've got it here on the Gregory Anton.
As the actor, I'm just wondering about the fake name that he had during the thing. Besides,
yeah, it's if you watch it and you'll see that, yeah, because they don't really show his behind the scenes pulling the strings at first. They just show her going crazy at first. All right, so you don't get to see every single thing until it fades into the end, the second half of the movie, or wherever it is, and you start seeing all the stuff that he's. Yeah,
it was Paul. Paul Malin was his fake name, and Joe Bauer was who he really was in the movie. That was, oh my God. And so yeah, basically his sorry to sidetrack here, but I want to try and keep this shorter for for the audience's sake.
No worries. We won't keep you all too long. Go ahead.
Yeah. So at one point, the brother arrives of the victim here, and he's like, "Hey, what's going on here? I want to talk to her." And he doesn't want that because that could fuck him over completely when stories start not adding up and stuff. And the brother is onto him. He's like, "I don't like your tone. I don't like your tone, Malin." And he's just like, "Oh well, you can get out of my house." And he's just like, he's like, "I'm not going to leave this house until I see my cousin." Or that's it, cousin. Sorry. And he goes, "Do you propose to interfere between a husband and wife?" And all snide, all fucking snide. "It would require physical force, Mr. Ulswater. Nancy, will you please show this gentleman out?" And Nancy's the fucking flying monkey. That fucking maid. But you know what? She started getting the same fucking treatment, because later on when he's cheating with her, going to like a little concert, and the bunch of whores are doing the can or whatever, and then basically she's like, "Oh, how vulgar," and he was enjoying it. And when he heard that from her, he all of a sudden had got this really mean face. And then when she started enjoying it, he waited for her to start enjoying things, and then he's like, "Okay, we gotta go." And he's like, "Oh, already? But I was enjoying this." And it's just like, "Yeah, flying monkey, you're starting to get a fucking taste of it." Started fucking, oh, this fucking, like, this movie, man, like, it does, like, it speaks to me. It really speaks to me. And this fucker made sure that she didn't know that her cousin, the strongman cousin who was gonna protect her and stuff, made sure like nope, he wasn't around here and stuff, and made sure he wasn't here, and then says keeps changing his story, and then says oh, you went behind my back and complained to your cousins, and she goes, but I never wrote them. He goes, how do you know this address? And again, that's the detective. The detective's on to it, and so. And just God, it's just he's such the acting is really good, and the camera angles are really good to give off that like what a predator, like what an absolute piece of shit. Like, oh, can I trust the insane ravings of a mad woman? God, just tearing her apart and devaluing her, and Paul, don't say that, and then saying your mind is diseased, you are as witless as an animal. And
Wow, I don't remember. You actually have some of the dialogue down from the movie. I don't remember
yeah, well,
this.
actually watching it as we're talking, and I'm actually reading the subtitles.
Oh,
And, oh yeah,
no
well,
wonder.
that's why I'm kind of living it as we're talking about it.
For all this, like, okay, no, okay.
Well, she says her head aches and her mind is tired. That's a result of getting bombarded by this psychological manipulation. Like they really are psychological terrorists. And
It's torture. It's psychological torture, is what it is. Being around one of them, any of these psychos, anywhere from the predatory psycho to the predatory narcissist. That is what they do. They just make you feel just drained all the time. You know, I can tell you when I got rid of, well, I didn't get, some got rid of me, I got rid of some, but when I started thinning that little herd out, man, I started feeling a lot better instantly. It really is them. It really is them. I think it's part of and I hate to call people empath. I think that's it's an overused term, but I think that there is some empathy, or they couldn't do that to you. You have to be able to feel on a level that it's not on in them. They don't understand, but they understand that it does something to you. They're monsters. They really are just monsters and predators. And this guy in here he was just perfect at it. Just get the movie, and see what you think. So I know that when he reaches over and pulls his watch out of her purse, I know that's past at least the middle of the movie. Is that toward the end of the movie?
Yeah, it's about the middle. And I want to talk about my favorite scene in the whole movie in terms of how it shows just how evil they are. Is where she says, Paul, did you ever love me? And he goes, I hate you.
Oh, God.
And the thing is, he says, you are utterly repulsive to me. And he walks away. And then out of earshot, he says, Louis Bauer. And you realize he's fucking projecting. He's fucking projecting. When he says, I hate you, you are utterly repulsive to me, that's how he feels about himself. That's what he is, and he's projecting it. And at the end, he goes, Louis Bauer. And you realize.
See, they live in their own hell then. So we extract ourselves from their hell, and they remain in it. So, I've heard this, does the narcissist ever suffer? Yeah, I think they do. At least if they're not suffering, they're not at least getting the full spectrum of life that we have.
Yeah, I mean, the way I look at it, because these monsters really did it to themselves. The way I look at it is they chose to remain the way they are. They choose to remain the way they are. Instead of working on themselves and coming to terms with what they are and trying to be a better person, they just want to believe all that. They just want to believe that they're better. And so that's why for him, this really sickening thing of I hate you, you're utterly repulsive to me, Louis Bauer, out of earshot, that whole thing is all that hatred inside that he has because he knows what he really is, but he wants to delude himself constantly. That's the whole thing with narcissistic supply. It's always to try and delude themselves that they really are this amazing, fantastic, desirable person who's always right and in control and owed everything. And it's just utterly, you realize it's completely ludicrous. It's completely irrational. And this is what they do. And it's not necessarily insanity outside of their control, but it really is induced delusion. It's induced psychosis. They really are psychotic, and they want to be psychotic. They want to live in their delusional reality, and they need everyone to conform to their delusion, to their reality. It just they're so evil. God, they're evil.
Did y'all get that yet? On this channel, we think that narcissists are evil. I think that's what Connor's trying to say. I can't even tell you how many times I've said that and thought that. They really are. They're two-dimensional beings. They have no depth. They live in this very odd and distorted fantasy world of their own making. And then since we have some blind spots to them, they use that against us till we wake up. And then, you know what? I don't think you have to deal with this again. I absolutely believe in karma. I believe it 100%. I won't go into that at this point in time, but they do, trust me, they do pay. They may not pay now and they may not pay to you, but they do pay. And so be it, Mr. Bauer. Isn't that right? What happened at the end of this movie, Connor? I don't remember. How did it wrap up?
Oh, I'm so happy how it ended. Like I was, oh man, this this movie. So like it was really good movie. And what happens is the detective realizes that he's going to have her certified. And he goes, what the hell are you talking about? And the thing is, he had his own guy talking to the flying monkey to get the gossip, to get the news, to get the juicy news, because he was saying to her like, oh yeah, I'm not going to have a wife anymore. Ooh, and all this shit, right, to the flying monkey. So she bragged and bragged about, that's what she does, brag to everyone. And so then he realizes that he's going to be cheating with her at the little like can dance thing at the whatever the big party thing is. And so there he is with this maid, and the maid is so happy with him and stuff, and it's like, you fucking flying monkey. And it's just so he's with her and he's just staring at her like a predator, like, enjoying yourself. And then he's like, immensely, I'm enjoying myself. And you realize like he's just playing her too, just like he played the wife, and he's going to do the same thing to the stupid fucking flying monkey. And it's like, good fucking bitch. And so what happens at the end of the movie, the detective breaks into the house and talks to Bella, and says we got to find proof because we don't have any time. He's managed to do what he needs to do. They will undoubtedly think that you are crazy. It's going to be your word against the entire town's, and so you're gonna be freaking put in the loony bin. And so he talks to her, and she initially is worried, and she thinks she's having a mad dream. She goes, "Oh no, I'm losing it again." And he goes, "Oh, well, talk to me about that." And so then she starts talking about all the symptoms that she's having. And he's just like, no, it's him sneaking up to the fucking attic. And when he's using the gaslight, that's why your gaslight's dimming, because he's taking away pressure from yours when he's using the gaslight upstairs from the gas pressure. And so she's all worried and stuff, and he's like, no, he's screwing you over. And she goes, but I can't betray my husband. It's like, right now he's freaking watching some girls from Paris do the can with the maid. So like,
I'm not really against that, by the way. By the way,
it's just so the good news is, so they start looking around for evidence, and she says, oh, there's an envelope, in his cabinet. And he goes, okay, well, we got to take a look and see if we can find it. So he breaks open, he's looking, and he goes, okay, well, we'll have to risk it. We're going to have to see if we can find any other evidence that he's after. Because he's after, turns out he's after the rubies, because he initially killed the woman who initially lived in the same house for her rubies, but couldn't find the rubies.
Oh, that's right. That's what he's doing. That's what he's doing, rifling around in the attic about half the time, is he's looking for those. I remember that.
Yeah, and what he did is he stole the brooch off the woman after he strangled her to death. And he stole the brooch and then gave it to Bella, and it's Bella's brooch. And then he stole that brooch again and fucking put it away in his little cabinet where she couldn't find it. And so Bella was playing with the brooch at the end of the movie. Turns out she was playing with the brooch, and it actually had a secret opening where it could actually open up. And then in the brooch there were the rubies. And the thing is, though, she didn't tell her husband this. I'm so proud of her. Oh my god! So she didn't tell her evil husband this, and she hid it in one of the urns, in one of the actual urns that no one would ever look in. And so even if she lost the brooch, the urn just on like the fireplace mantle, this urn had all the rubies in it. And so when he saw that, he like lost his absolute mind for the rubies, and then he tried to get her alone and said, so I need to talk with my wife in private. And then he was tied up in a chair because he got civil arrest, civilian arrest,
Right, right.
where they tied him up on a chair. And then when it's just her and him, he says to her, he says, "Oh, quick, Bella, quick, quick! They're trying to trick you, but you can help us. You can help us both. Quick, get the knife and cut me loose, untie me, and we can escape together." And obviously, he's just gonna like knock her out or kill her and take the rubies or whatever. Like he's just so evil. And so he even baited her out with a dog out of her room because the detective said, "Whatever you do, don't go out of your room." And then he goes, "Get out of your room or I'll hurt the dog." And she goes, "No, not the dog." So she gets out, and of course the dog wasn't around for him to hurt, but it was a valid enough threat um, to scare her out, and shows like she's a good person and he's not, and he knows how to go after her and do the bad things. And so she goes, "Yeah, I'll speak to him alone." And then she does the same shit to him in terms of the gaslighting stuff and goes, "No, I'm mad. I'm out of my mind." And
Mhm.
then he can't handle it. It's too much of a mind fuck for him. And then the
You
camera
can
pans
mind fuck these people back, by the way. If you've seen enough of the videos on my channel, you can mind fuck them back. And yeah, they don't like it when you hide the rubies in the urn. Do not ever let the narcissist know your plans. And sometimes you can give them disinformation to throw them off track. I have done that, and it does work, I can tell you. Because they think they're so smart, but once you figure out the game, it's just extremely predictable. After he sees that, yeah, because he loses his mind. He also realizes that he'd been beat. So
Yeah, and one thing that they talked about in this movie was the eyes. If you looked into their eyes, you could see the crazy. And
mhm.
so it didn't. They didn't really. It's for me when I've seen them go into full predator mode when they're really feasting on it, their pupils will expand.
Dude, it's
And
weird. I saw it twice on this one, and it was wicked. I'm telling you right now, I never saw it before, and I never saw it after. But they did. It went completely black. The pupils dilated completely. I'm not making it up. It was one of the wickedest things I've ever seen from this person that I'd known for a very long time. And I can't divulge exactly when I saw it happen, but it's very brief. And yeah, I mean, it's like you're looking into a snake. It is absolutely wicked, and it shows like exactly what's happening inside them. Because the predators, their eyes dilate too before they strike. And
it's just like a cat.
I was just going to say, like we have a cat, and when you play with her, her eyes dilate. You couldn't see what I won't even mention the color of their eyes. You couldn't see the color. And it happened real fast, and it'll take you back because you think you know this person, and whatever's standing there in front of you at that time, it ain't that person. I think you're seeing the real them at that time for sure.
That's
Yeah,
right.
we're talking about that.
That's
I've
them
heard
without
that.
all the masks.
There
That's
was
the real
another,
them.
God, I don't know if it was on Quora or not, but there was another long conversation about psychopaths and their eyes as well. Not just a mean look. That's not what it is. It's vacant. It's like there's no humanity there at all.
A lot of the times, like the thing is with the eyes, I wouldn't consider that too much of a reliable indicator. What becomes reliable is when they have this sheer and it's this sheer predatory pleasure of attacking someone. And then when those pupils dilate, that's like it's in the moment. They're basically killing you, right?
Mhm.
That's their thing. They're killing you. They're hunting you and they're killing you and they're winning. And that's a zero sum game. It's like, hey, I'm gonna go after the prey. I'm gonna rip their guts out and they're gonna die and
Actually,
I'm gonna
mine
eat
was
them.
losing at those times. Both times is
Really?
when their eyes dilated, and it was just weird. It was just very strange. They were losing at both times. So you can see the rage that was welling up in this otherwise what appeared to be a normal person to a lot of people, but they never saw what I saw, and I'll never forget it. And that person is still around. Thank goodness I have very, very low contact with them.
Oh, good, man. Yeah, I mean, if possible, I'd say no contact. My God.
Well, and that's another thing you've heard that sometimes you can't go no contact all the way with some people. It just, well, just go no contact. Just, well, sometimes you can't. You might not be in the position to go 100% no contact. So just be aware that you can't always do that. Sometimes you're, tied up for various reasons. And but I did. I saw that, and it was one of the spookiest things because it came out of a person I would have never expected it to come out of. They're so good at pretending, via the gaslight, just like this guy is doing in the movie, that you don't think that it's going to be someone that you're related to, or someone that, or a spouse, or even a good friend or whatnot. You don't expect it. That's how come it works. That's how come it works. Most people don't have the opportunity to get that close to you. That's what's so sinister about this. They used institutions of marriage and family to perpetrate their crimes. Vile, vile people, if we can call them people. We use that term loosely on here on this channel.
Yeah, man. And I think we're pretty much wrapping up at this point here, man. But yeah, at one point she says something that's so true. She goes, "You killed that woman, and you tried to kill my mind." They
Right.
do. They try to murder you from the inside. They
God, that's
really
it.
do.
You tried to kill my mind. That should be my
Yeah.
tagline from now on. You tried to kill my mind. Was that the last part of the movie? Or was that the very end of that?
Yeah, the very last part, and then she says to him because he's tied up in the chair and he wants her to free her and take the rubies and shit. Like and sorry, he wants her to free him, and then she's saying to him and she's gaslighting him back, going, "You made me mad, witless as an animal," you said. And then he's just in the chair and he's getting scared because she has like a knife with her, and then she goes, "Now you're helpless, and I'm mad." And then he's scared because he wants to believe that she's mad because that means he's a good person. But all of a sudden, now he doesn't want her to be mad because then that means he's gonna die, and he doesn't like that. So it that fucks with him, and then that's when the camera pans in on his face and then shows his eyes, and his eyes sort of like go into this like weird, creepy stare thing, and
Yeah.
that's meant to symbolize the psycho. But the thing is, his pupils didn't like do like a super dilation. Like I've seen it where when they're raging and feeding off you, like really feeding off you, like planning a betrayal for 6 months type of feeding off you, and then finally the big payoff. Yeah, they'll rage at you, and their eyes will be like freaking
I've
pupils
seen
will become huge.
I've seen it. I've seen it firsthand. I'd never seen it before or after those two times. Very, very telling. Man, it's a great. When we do figure out if I probably won't ever say anything directly to any of the narcs that had their influence on my life, but you know, I finally figured out what you did to me. Now it's your turn to figure out what I did to you.
Yeah.
I can
Oh,
be just as evil as them if I have to be, now that I learned how to play the game. And, these tools are for your use. Obviously, you have to be very careful of how to use them. But once you know what they are, I'm not against using it against a narcissist. I am 100% for using their own tools against them, especially to go ahead and get no contact, not just for no reason, but to extricate yourself from the entanglement, as you could call it, with the narcissist. Connor, I really love these conversations. I hope everyone likes this as well. Before I wrap it up, though, one of our, we call them participants because I don't like to say, well, this is my channel, la, la, la. It's not really a channel because we don't really own the platform anyway. You never know if you're going to be here the next day anyway with the censorship and how it goes. But we were suggested to watch The Invisible Man. And so I may give that a watch as well. And I thank you for the suggestion, viewer. And if we get a little time the next week or two, maybe Connor and I will watch The Invisible Man. Apparently, it has some of the same characteristics that the last two movies we were talking about. And we're not going to stay on a movie kick from now on. That's not probably what we're going to do. But I figured that these two, at least these two movies, that They Live and Gaslight, were so important to the conversation that we wanted to bring them in and discuss them too. So, Connor, do you have any parting words or thoughts today?
You bet. I have one last thing to basically say, is that these movies, just like Tier said, these stories are very, very important because these stories you're gonna be able to relate to them. If you have been having problems like this, when it's finally shown to you, and it's presented to you in a way where you're not the victim, you're not the one being targeted, and you can actually see the whole picture, you can easily connect the dots back to real events that have happened in your life and go, whoa, I think that's what was going on. So these movies, they're not going to necessarily be able to educate you if you didn't know anything about them initially. But if you've experienced them, this will give you clarity. This will give you closure.
Uh-huh.
Um, and and another thing I want to just say is there's a certain amount of self-reflection that's unhealthy. And that's what these evil bastards do. They try to get you to self-reflect more and more and more
Wow,
on
that
on
is
all of
interesting. I am
all of
sorry
your
to interrupt
tiny
you
little
on your closing
flaws.
thought. That is very interesting. I never thought about that. That too much self-reflection can have a negative effect. Very true.
Unfortunately, it's true. And the person that I stake my claim on in terms of why you shouldn't self-reflect too deep is Friedrich Nietzsche. Friedrich Nietzsche thought he had a hypothesis that if he self-reflected enough inside himself, he would find the philosopher's stone and basically be able to remake his personality and stuff. Well, that unfortunately that turned out to be false because he basically got committed to an insane asylum. And here's the thing about Friedrich Nietzsche. He was such a brilliant man, and he had so much insight into these things. um it scared people because they saw that he had all this insight, and all of a sudden he's mad and he goes to an insane asylum,
Mhm.
and it scared people. And the thing is, who Friedrich Nietzsche didn't have anyone else. He was ahead of his time. So it really helps when you can rely on other people who've done the work for you. You don't have to try and find out all the answers for yourself. And that's the self-reflection part, right? You don't have to self-reflect too much. You can self-reflect enough, but these evil bastards will try and get you to only self-reflect and to just self-reflect as punishment. It becomes a punishment.
Wow. Good Lord.
So
That's very insightful. That was again, that was worth the conversation all the way at the end here. That's very cool. I never thought about it like that. Yeah, folks, don't be too hard on yourself. I think that's the message there. Listen, Connor, thank you so much. I really enjoy these conversations. We're going to look into that other movie, and I think you mentioned one as well, and we'll chat about that as well. And we'll try to bring these to you so that because to me they are therapeutic. You can look at it. You can writers. That's our job as writers is to bring things to you in a manner that will make sense. So, anyhow, folks, I want to thank y'all for joining us again. Connor, stick around for just a minute. I'm going to sign off here, and I hope to see you all again real soon. All right, thanks. All right, bye.